What's up, guys? D-Rock1992 here. For this next video and for my next movie review, I am going to be talking about a movie I just recently saw in theaters. It was about a week ago or so. It was last Saturday. Yeah, it was a couple days ago, Saturday. But anyway, this movie is Concussion, the new 2015 film starring Will Smith. So this will be my movie review. So anyway, Will Smith stars as... This movie's based on a true story of Dr. Bennett Omalu, who's a Nigerian forensic pathologist who discovers some interesting, fascinating research on the brain damage suffered by NFL football players, by professional football players. He discovers that they suffer from chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or CTE. CTE for short. He discovers that this is, after a lot of research, a lot of thinking, and a lot of stuff, after a lot of digging around, things like that, he discovers CTE itself, and he discovers this disorder, or doesn't discover the disorder, he discovers that football players have this disorder, and he tries to make it right. He tries to bring attention to everybody. He tries to bring attention to the general public about this disorder and what it can do, the negative effects it can have on football players. Former football players being, they can get mental disorders. A lot of them have committed suicide. Things like that. They have real problems from CTE and all that, concussions, basically. A lot of blows to the head from, of course, NFL. Football's a rough sport. You see a lot of blows to the head, a lot of big tackles, a lot of unbelievable tackles. We love it. As Americans, we love that type of violence. And it is, in one respect, it's good that players are competing. In one respect, it's good that players are competing to be the best they can be at all costs. But on another respect, football's a rough sport. I mean, there's a reason why there are football players out there who have short careers. It's because of those repeated blows to the head, the concussions, a lot of other injuries, a lot of factors go into having the football player have a short career in the NFL or any other professional football league or anything like that. So Omalu's trying to tell everybody, CTE is a pretty serious disorder. We've got to do something about this. But the NFL, the money-making corporation that it is, tries to suppress his research, tries to sweep it under the rug, saying, we've got it all taken care of. But they didn't really have it taken care of. So Omalu fought, and finally the NFL's doing something about it. The NFL's doing something about concussion. They have this research panel or something like that. They're taking the necessary steps to ensure that their players are safer, and that CTE's dealt with. Players are getting the treatment they need, and football's making strides to making sure that happens. From what I saw in the movie and all that. That's pretty much what the plot is of the movie. It is based on the true story of Omalu. Will Smith as Dr. Bennett Omalu gives a very good, very convincing performance as Omalu. I mean, he shows. This movie proves why Will Smith isn't just a big box office draw. He's also an actor. I mean, the guy's really grown over the years as a great actor, and Concussion really proves it. He really gives a great performance in this movie for sure. Some other performances to look out for. Alec Baldwin gives a good performance as a doctor, a former Pittsburgh Steelers doctor, Dr. Julian Bales, former Pittsburgh Steelers physician, who kind of sides with Will Smith and Omalu in his character. Baldwin gives a good performance. I mean, adding Alec Baldwin to any movie really strengthens the movie. Baldwin's a very good actor. But the southern accent, though, that he tried leaves a lot to be desired for me, but I can overlook that with the performance. Albert Brooks plays Dr. Cyril Wecht, who is the leader, the kind of Will Smith, Omalu's boss. And Brooks gives a very good performance as well. Don't overlook Albert Brooks. Will Smith gave an unbelievable performance. But don't overlook Albert Brooks. He gave a very good, very funny performance. Brooks provided some of the laughs. He was kind of the comedic element in that movie as well. And Albert Brooks has been in a lot of stuff. I mean, probably most known, by me at least, for The Simpsons. He guest starred in a lot of Simpsons episodes and whatnot, and he was in the Simpsons movie. Good performance by him. Also, Gugu Mbatha-Raw, if I'm pronouncing the name right. She's an English actress, and she gave a good performance as well. She really did. She was Omalu's love interest in the movie, and she gave a good performance. So, those four right there really power this movie for sure. The movie does give a lot of information, a lot of necessary, helpful information about concussions and the NFL and the issues of concussions with the NFL. And, it just dives into the story of how concussions can negatively affect football players in later life. Concussions can develop into serious brain injuries, and it really can have a negative effect on former football players. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that's the fact. It definitely... Also, another person to look at is David Morse as Mike Webster. He gave a good performance. He gave a very good performance. Mike Webster was the guy who committed suicide at first, and this was the guy who Omalu studied, and he first found the research on CTE and the head injury and the brain injuries and all that. Mike Webster was the start of it all for Omalu. So you can't overlook. I don't think you can overlook him. That's for sure. But yeah, Luke Wilson also stars in a small role as Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner. I mean, he did okay in the limited role. He did fine in the limited role and all that. Can't really talk about much else with him, but yeah, I mean, this movie's very good. This movie's a very good movie. It shows the effects of concussions in the NFL and what they can negatively do to football players later in life. This movie gets a 5 out of 5 stars for me. You factor in all that I just said, and then Will Smith's great performance as Bennett Omalu. I actually will be surprised a little bit if Will Smith does not get an Oscar nomination. At least a nomination. you know, because he gave a very good performance. That's for sure. Yeah, he definitely gave it. He definitely brought it to this movie. Alec Baldwin, Albert Brooks, and Gugu Mbatha-Raw and David Morse, like I mentioned, they give great performances too. Will Smith gives a very good performance, definitely. And this movie gets a 5 out of 5 stars for me. I definitely would recommend seeing it. It'll change. It'll certainly change people's opinions, I think, of the NFL and the concussions and all that. Maybe there are people out there who don't consider concussions to be a big deal. This movie will definitely convince you will definitely give you more of a clue of what concussions can do, more of a clue of what concussions can have a negative impact on as far as football players go. So it'll definitely raise awareness, for sure. And that's why this movie is very good. Factor in the great performances, and yeah, this movie, again, gets a 5 out of 5 stars for me. So that is it for this video on the review of Concussion. D-Rock 1992 out.